my name is Charlotte Mallet and you can find me on paintedorange.com. I'm excited to share some cute cards today using the Whimsical Trees bundle. That's a stamp set and die. We've got these two cards right here. The instructions for this card are on my blog. This is a fun shaker card using the dies and various patterns of the Designer Series paper. Using additional patterns of the Designer Series paper is this fun card, and this is what I'm going to show you on the video. This looks like a very busy and kind of complicated card, but it's actually quite simple. You have a fair amount of die cutting, a little bit of stamping. Let's get going. First, we need a piece of 4 1/4 by 11 Blushing Bride cardstock. We're going to score it and fold it in half. We're going to stamp this polka dot pattern around the edges in Versamark and heat set it with white emboss powder. So let's do that right now. Get out some Versamark and ink up these polka dots. You don't have to do the full background. The interior area will be covered. So I'm just stamping the edges. You don't need the full background. And it's okay if some of them overlap. And it looks like we need a little bit on this edge there. Okay, not sure if you can see that, but let's put some embossing powder on it. And we'll use a plain piece of white paper underneath to catch any extra. That way we can dump it back into our little tray. And now let's heat set. There we go. That looks good. And when it's all done, looks like so. This area will be covered up, so don't worry about that. All right, let's move on to our next layer. This card uses beautiful patterns from the Whimsy and Wonder. We are going to take this fun hollyberry pattern and trim that down. We're going to take that hollyberry pattern and cut it down to 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. And tack that on there. So these polka dots mirror what's happening in here. We're just going to mount that flat. Centered, top to bottom, left to right, leaving about a 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. Great. Now, because we have our embossing out, let's also stamp the greeting for this card. We'll get all the embossing done at once. We're going to use the Wishing You Christmas Cheer and Magical Moments all year long. We're going to use that. We will use our embossing buddy or some sort of static cleaner. Stamp again in Versamark. We'll do it twice, that way in case we mess up, we have another version that we can use. Get that good and inked. Just on a scrap piece of Blushing Bride cardstock. And again, we will put some embossing powder on that Versamark. I need to get some new white embossing powder because I've got goobers in this one, but that looks pretty good. Let's heat set this one. Very good. You can see the embossing on that. We're going to trim this down to 1.5 by 2. You can use your scissors or your paper cutter so that this is your shape with your greeting. All right, and now let's die cut. Lots of die cutting here for this card. You're going to need this tree, you're going to need this tree, and you're going to want this border here. Okay, we're going to cut this polished pink. We're going to use the larger tree in vellum, and then we're going to cut this tree in basic white. There's a tip I want to give you on this one. We don't want to pop out those negative areas. I want this tree to just be white on white. I think that looks really pretty for this card. And so you're just going to take a little piece of tape on the back side and secure all those negative pieces inside of the die cut. No one will see that. It doesn't need to be perfect. You're just going to keep those pieces from falling out. If there's any tape that hangs over, we'll just trim that off like so. That way when you look at the tree, you have all the detail, but it's not popped out. And you're not risking it falling out when you assemble your card. We're going to mount the polished pink trim onto that vellum tree. The vellum really shows up nicely against that dark contrast of the mossy meadow. So let's do that. Tack those down together like so. Looks good there. We'll put this tree in here like so. Maybe put our greeting here. We're kind of building this card, how we think it might look cute. Let's pull in one of these snowflakes from the Wonderful Snowflakes, maybe layer that behind. Oh yeah, that's going to be pretty. All right, let's start to build out this card. We're just going to tack a little adhesive down on the center of that snowflake and arrange it on that background like so. Tack that. This piece will nestle in here. We'll add a little adhesive or glue dots to the areas behind that polished pink trim. And we'll position this on the card front like so. The vellum is cute because some of the polka dots of this pattern paper show through. This one I think we're going to mount with some Stampin' Dimensionals up just a little bit higher here. Let's pull in some dimensionals. All right, and we'll pack this one right here, layering over the top. Then we're going to take this piece and we're going to take some of this silver trim and we're going to wrap it around. We have a good 12 inches here. Let's wrap it around 1, 2, 3. Let's go 3 solid times and we'll tie a little knot. Just like so. Not the perfect amount, not a perfect coil, just kind of messy. Then we'll trim off the edges here, snip them close. And that will look nice, just like so. We'll pop some dimensionals on the back side here. Little trick, I didn't put one in this corner because I'm not quite sure where it's going to overlap with the tree there. Just like, maybe down a little bit. Yeah, that looks good. Nice. Okay, and now let's add some bling. We're going to take a bunch of silver rhinestones, star the tree, and let's just add some bling. Let's pick up and add some rhinestones throughout. Thanks so much for sticking with me to make this card. Again, instructions for this card can be found on my blog. Again, my name is Charlotte Mallett, and I hope you have a great day.